Good morning. My name is Caitlin Leone, and I am with WJCS, Westchester Jewish Community Services. I'm a licensed social worker, and I want to welcome everyone today to our we're on our sixth chat or parenting website workshop through the county. And today we're going to continue our parenting through the storm. The topic, however, is now stuck at home with your teen, navigating communication, boundaries, and problem solving. But before we get started, I just wanted to take care of our usual housekeeping. The first piece is that this video is being recorded. So you are free to keep your video up, or if you'd prefer to just tune in via audio, that's fine too. It will be available on our website, WJCS.com. I've included in the chat the link where you can find it. If you click under news and go to free online workshops, parenting workshops, I believe it says, you can access all of the 5 previous videos currently, and then this one will be posted up in the next few days as well. So you can go to the website to find that. The link is in the chat section, and I've also included the conference call-in number so that if you know of anyone who cannot tune in via Zoom and just wants to call in and listen, or if you are currently listening and cannot hear me, in the chat section there is the conference call, or you can let anyone know who might be having any issues. Other than that, like I mentioned, today is Stuck at Home with Your Teen, and the staff through WJCS and Margaret's Place will be our special guests today. I'm going to turn it over to them, and feel free. I guess I just want to mention before I do turn it over that you can put questions or comments into the chat box, or you can also make yourself available via like a hand wave or a raise hand, which if you can figure it out technologically, you can raise your hand through those 3 little blue dots at the top of your screen. So hopefully that will help everyone. And I will turn it over to Beth Thompson from Margaret's Place.
It's really nice to be here. I think I just got unmuted. Good morning, everybody. It's really nice to be here with you. Thank you for joining us. We are thinking that we've been talking a lot about young kids, and that a lot of us have teenagers who have a different set of needs and interests. So we are here from a program administered by WJCS called Margaret's Place, which is funded by Joe Torre Safe at Home. And we operate school-based programs in middle and high schools in several areas in the county, Yonkers, White Plains, and Peekskill. So we are joined by a couple of our team members, Shamar Watson, who is in our Yonkers program, and he's the coordinator there, and Yocasta Jimenez, who is our White Plains coordinator. And we wanted to share with you some experiences we've been hearing about through the teams that we're in contact with. We are very fortunate to be able to have teams that are talking to us, that are meeting with us, that are doing groups, that we're seeing through assemblies. And not for nothing, each one of us has teams at home right now, from ages 13 through young adult. So we've got some, personal perspective on this, as well as what we're hearing as themes from all our people. Can you hear me, Caitlin? Okay, I'm having a weird. It says he's not playing. You can hear me.
We can hear you, Beth. It's kind of choppy. I'm not sure why, but we can hear you.
Okay. If you could show the handout that we want to do, I'm going to just go over some of the themes we've been hearing about. And we'd like to set up today really as a discussion. I think most of you have experience with teens or living with teens, and we want to be able to share what's going on with everybody and share our expertise, share our experiences, and figure out how to best problem solve, to have a healthy time at home during this weird period we're in. So Caitlin's working on putting up some things. So one of the big things that we've been talking about with our teens is that the whole idea of having your teenagers at home at a time in life when they are building autonomy, building responsibility, figuring out how to take on their own actions is a real step backwards. And so it's kind of predictable that there'll be some conflicts and bumps along the road in figuring out how to re-navigate your team, things like boundaries, privacy, roles in the home. How much supervision do you need to give your team? They're used to getting their homework done, they're used to launching out and going to school and going through their classes, coming home, starting homework, maybe going to a job, maybe having sports. And now suddenly you're watching everything they do. They feel it and you feel it. You feel a responsibility to make sure things are moving forward, and your team is maybe feeling like, hey, this is too much. So that's a big overarching thing we've seen. And of course, there are lots of questions around school and at this point, expectations, privacy, boundaries. So those are some of the things we found that are on kids' minds and parents' minds. And we can, the three of us can tell you a little bit about who we have with us at home and who we're in contact with for teens. So I myself am a parent of a 13-year-old at home, and that's my situation. So maybe Shamar and Yogi, you can fill people in on the kind of contact you're having with both at home and through your work.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I hardly hear you.
Oh, really?
It's choppy. Like I could see that you're talking. I hear intermittent words, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's not coming through. It could be.
Well, I could chime in at this point, Beth, while you work with your
All right.
audio. So
Yes.
can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you all for being here. Just to piggyback off what Beth was speaking to, the reality is we are facing some unprecedented times. People are facing food insecurities, employment losses. There may be rising tension even within the household. The question is, what do we do? And I often like to use an analogy of when you're on an airplane and there's some trouble in the air, they often tell you you have to put the mask on yourself first before you can help someone else. And I think one of the suggestions is that we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. We have to do our mental check-in. In my own household, I have 3 teens, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, and a 17-year-old. When this quarantine first started, we tried to create a routine, a structure, and a flexibility. But one of the challenges that I found is that it can become overwhelming. And one thing we have to know as parents, as providers, when we're speaking to our families, is to make sure they know that it's important to have a routine, but you also have to have some type of flexibility within that routine. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that you're going to bump heads. So a lot of our students are inundated with homework, classwork, checking in. And then we also have a commitment to our own work obligations. Sometimes that can become overwhelming. So one of the things we tell people to do is find an activity that, first of all, that you enjoy doing. It is something that you can do as a family. It could be as simple as a movie night. It could be a game night. It can be going outside for a walk, but being socially responsible. Something that we adapt in this house is that we don't start at 9 in the morning. We start a little later. So therefore, by starting at 10 o'clock with the children, it gives me time at 8 o'clock in the morning to wake up and do the things I need to do and get mentally right for the day. Now, this doesn't work for every household, so you have to manipulate it towards your particular household. Some of the students that we're working with now, the reality is that they're saying, Mr. Shamar, there's no space in my house. There's 5 kids, 2 parents, and we're in a 1 or 2 bedroom. So what do you say to them? You can't necessarily say, well, let's go to the backyard. So what I do with them, we do a weekly Zoom, we do activities, we do things just to give them a break. And to remind them that we're all in this together. Although each household may look different, we are in this together. Sometimes, you know what, you have to put the homework down for a few minutes, put the classwork down, and do things that'll bring you peace and bring you joy. Because we're going to be in this for a couple of months. But I foresee it that once we get through this, we'll be better for it. But it's just about getting through this difficult time at this point. Any chime in at this point?
Good morning, everyone. So as you all see my name, Yokasta Bennett, right? So I'm more known as Yogi. More folks know me as Miss Yogi and so on. In my day interaction, I work at a high school, so I'm constantly in tune with teenagers, and I've had the amazing opportunity to be able to engage them on this kind of concept as well. Being able to Zoom with kids on a regular basis and hearing, what they're going on at home. I myself, I'm a guardian to a 13-year-old. My youngest son is 18, and he had to come home early from college, so that really changed the platform and, the everyday interactions. It was just like from one day to another, he was like, I'm on my way home. They told us to clear out of campus. So it was just, a lot of things changing and, moving and so on. For me, one of the things in working with teenagers that, I've kind of concluded to be some of the issues at home, I think one, a lot of parents are feeling that school is scheduled from 7:30 to 2:35. At least that's our schedule in White Plains. And I think a lot of parents in their head feels like kids are supposed to be in front of this computer or doing work for this amount of time. And I think it's really important for them to understand that homeschooling and being in an institution as far as like school is a very different platform, and kids don't need to be on a learning concept for 8 hours a day. It's just too overwhelming, and it's I have sessions sometimes scheduled back to back. I have 4 kids back to back, and I just want to yell because being in front of the computer gets so tiring of just sitting here like talking to the screen, opposed to being able to come in and welcome my students, and just such a different platform. So I think parents need to have an understanding of that. In addition of not jumping in and trying to be the teacher, I think that we need to maintain our roles as parents and still provide support, but not try to jump in and being the teacher. I'm in my 40s. This math that these 5th graders are doing, it's not my thing. I can't rock with it. I don't get it. I got a master's degree. I'm working on my PhD. That's all good. 5th grade math, so I don't try to jump in to do the work because I'm going to get aggravated, right? I'm telling my kids, you do it, this is the way that I know how to do it. And they're like, that's going to be wrong. So it's really understanding the boundaries of how to provide support and how to know how to step back when kids are working on certain assignments, and being able to reach out to the teachers and allowing them to learn that independency of reaching out and saying, I don't understand this problem. Can I have a one-on-one time, and really teaching them those coping skills to deal with, when they get stuck in an obstacle. And as far as getting out, I think that it's important for them to also understand that it's important to take a walk around the block. It doesn't mean go hang out with Susie, Tom, and John. It just means take a walk, get some fresh air. And I have to piggyback off of what Shamar said. I believe in that whole airplane factor. I teach that. I got it written on my walls. We have to take care of ourselves first, because otherwise it starts to boil over towards the kids, and it just becomes, everything that they do becomes bothersome and aggravating, and I'm only human myself, so I understand where that place is. So it's just important for us to know ourselves and kind of understand when that aggravation is setting in, and step back for a second and allow them to be able to also have a second to debrief for themselves, and then come back to the table and have a healthy argument. I personally believe in healthy arguments. I'm a Leo, and I got to prove my point.
So we have had really interesting discussions between our program staff about handling what we've got going on at home. And one of the points that Yogi just made was something where we had some variation. I agree that in a lot of ways, our teens, they need to work with their teachers to be able to get the materials they have. But I also, as a parent, am worried about seeing how much school they're losing and how much direct interaction they're losing. So I had to think about, well, are there ways I can not be looking over my kid's shoulder, but still figure out, can I enhance because she's missing out on a lot. So for me, just in our house, that was when our schools closed, over the weekend, so no one had time to really prepare. God help them with whatever they find in the lockers when school finally opens up again. But my daughter missed all her instrument at school. So I worked really hard to find her a way to still have music in her life and to play music at home, not just answer questions about some composer. So that's one thing I did. And the other thing was that, she is learning Spanish, and so they can't talk in a classroom. That's not the way our school district is doing it. It's not live interaction. So I found one of those learning apps, Duolingo, that the schools promote that allow them to have conversation. So I think for me, I think you have to find what your kid needs and where you can support the work they're doing without saying, oh, you must be school, 6 hours a day, even though your friends are only doing 3, and balance it. So that, there are tons of apps out and sources now for things that you can do to enhance what kids are learning, including resources on Channel 12 News has a whole education division, and New Jersey Public Education Channel 8 has some wonderful lessons that teachers are doing that you can just log on to Channel 8. So that's my 2 cents.
Also, Beth, to go along those same lines, when you're speaking about TV, for adults, for ourselves, sometimes we have to disconnect from the media because it can become overwhelming. The same news over and over again, and sometimes we need to take a break from Channel 12, from Fox, from CNN, seeing what's going on. It's good to know what's going on, but you could get inundated with too much information where that now it's impacting your mental health and you don't really even realize it in your daily interactions with your students. So even within that context, observing your students, your children, often we may ask our student, hey, your kid, how you doing today? How was your day? Fine, good. Don't just take that answer, probe them with different things, engage and let it be authentic. Say, hey, listen, what do you want to do today? So that's part of a check-in, because a lot of our kids, they'll go to their room, they'll disappear for 5-6 hours. Like I said, I have a 12-year-old, 14 and 17-year-old in the house. And after a few hours, they're like, no, everyone comes downstairs. And so we do some type of activity. It could be Uno, it's something, but it has to be a check-in, because you never know what's going on upstairs or wherever they're at in their own room when they're in it for so many hours, because this is the time when people prey on our youth. That's not just 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, but that's 13, 14, and 15. So see what's going on when they're on their phone, when they're on their video game, when they're speaking to people online, because this is also a dangerous time for people to prey on our youth, which is a very vulnerable population, as we all know. If I can just probe this to the group, either you can ask it in the chat or just in general. Are there any strategies that you're actually using at this point within your own household, or maybe with the students or the clients that you're working with that you find that are effective? Just open the group.
I'm sorry. Shamar, ask the question again. I'm sorry.
Also, I was asking within your own personal lives or your professional lives, are there certain strategies that you find most effective that's working for you or working for your clients with this quarantine that's going on right now?
Well, for me personally, I think one of the things, the point that you made about like limiting what how much you access like the media. I remember when this whole thing first started, I was glued to the TV. I kept on tracking the new infection rate, how many people were dying. And I would snap pictures off the television and I just couldn't leave. But then I realized after a while, it was almost like it was sucking every energy out of me. I wasn't doing all the other stuff I needed to do. And it was all kind of making me anxious. And so, I had to become aware of just me and so to have to reach out to, because we're still working from home. Sometimes I'll be tired or not, figure that when I do call the kids to do counseling with them, I am not going to be able to find the words to comfort them, and so I had to really sit down and, just figure out like what works for me, which I found out was limiting how much I will watch it. I watch the updates in the morning now, and then I don't watch any of it, during the rest of the day, or maybe a little in the night. And I also mix a couple of comedy in between just to make me, or just some kind of reality show. I like 90 Day Fiance. And
I watch that.
And then I, the same thing that you're asking the kids to do, you have to create a structure for yourself. So I had to create the structure in terms of, just figuring out when am I going to call the kids? When do I have to do notes? When do I have to do reports? When do I have, and that's been working for me.
No, and that's good. And to that point, yeah, Beth, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's good. Thank you, Valine. Thanks for pitching in. I think this is really, we're hoping this can be a real conversation with everybody who's joining us today. I think like that flexible routine, like with a basic structure, that's kind of what we're doing too. Like we have I get us up, we get moving like by 8 o'clock, 8 to 9 o'clock. And then we sit together for breakfast and then we work and then we take a break for lunch together. And then work till, through the afternoon and then walk the dog. So there's a basic structure, but it's got flexibility. And I'm the way I'm setting up expectations for my daughter with that is what I ask her in the morning to tell me what her needs are for the day. What is she planning? What does she have to do? And what does she want to do? So that she has a say in some of it, that I'm not just sitting there dictating. Because, I don't want a helicopter, but I also want to make sure it's getting done. So then I'll check in with her at lunch and say, oh, great, how much did you get done? What do you have left? And Shamar, something you said too, that I really encouraging her to reach, not just answer the questions and turn in the assignments, but to connect with her teachers. Because I think she's been kind of shy about doing that. She doesn't like the video. She's that 13-year-old girl. She doesn't want to be on, so I have had to really encourage her to say, well, you have to have some kind of in person, whether it's a telephone call or an email or a chat with your teacher, each subject, just to check in. And when she has done it, she's felt a lot better. Mm-hmm. Like it's just because I think, we're all kind of trying to get through the remoteness of all this and keep the connections with people.
Mm-hmm. And that's
I think it's also, I think it's important to also, realize that for kids is different. For some kids, this platform is really difficult to navigate, and there's the self-esteem issues and having to be on Zoom and even speaking. I know I hate the way I sound on a voicemail, so doing this at the beginning was like I was about to be 17 and be like, I'm not doing this shit, but I have to, right? So because I can think like that for a second and know that I got to rebound back and be an adult. I can totally understand that with some teens, and for some, this platform is amazing. They get to kind of navigate, figure stuff out, research their own stuff. I have a young lady who's having like her grades are going up. Like she's like, I'm loving teaching myself. Like if I get stuck, I email the teacher and she sends me what I need to know and I keep it pushing. So this platform is really working for her. And then I have some students who are like, I'm done. I don't even care what this turns out to be. I hate it. I'm not doing it. I have math work piling up. So I think it's just important to check in and see what's working and not working. Because for some students, this is working and for others, it's not. I know for me personally, I adapt easily, so it's not a big deal. I just kind of get tired of the same concept of sitting in the same place, so I'm like, navigating from one room to another to do sessions, and it just, I think to me, that's my only struggle, but I think it's just important to check in to see, what's working for whom and how they're navigating this.
I really like your point, Yocasta, about checking in. I think, I think especially as parents where we're like, we've got to keep it all together. Oh my God, are we secure? Are we getting their needs met? Is everything moving forward? And to be able to just step back and check in and really ask your kid, what's working for you? What challenges do you have? What makes it a good day for you? I think that to have, to slow down enough to really ask and to have the conversations, and then we can figure out together with our teens how to communicate. I find especially when I'm beginning to butt heads and say, no, you need to go empty the dishwasher for me or whatever it is, I need to take that step back and go, okay, well, what are you in the middle of? And what do you need to do right now? Right. Okay, now we can figure out how to move together toward the family's needs.
But Beth, I also, just to just go back on a point that you made earlier about the need to have that direct contact, that's really important. And I think that, like you said, your daughter initially didn't want to do it, but when she did do it, she enjoyed it. At one of my schools, School 17, I guess they have like a Fun Friday, and they have this massive Zoom call. So they have like, I'm going to say 2 grade levels of kids, and all the kids can call in. And you can imagine it's complete chaos. So no one's saying anything. Everybody is like unmuted, and everybody, you know, as the pictures pop up, they just say hi, like hi Shamar, hi Beck. And you know, I remember the first time I participated on one of it. First, I was like, "What is this?" But it was actually just fun seeing the kids' face and just seeing their reaction when they see, you know, their classmates and stuff like that. And you know, and so the numbers have been growing, you know, to the point they have to figure out what they're going to do next because it's been
Hey,
really
just to
great.
piggyback off of that, I run the teen lounge for the youth bureau here in White Plains, and that's a Friday night program. I gotta say, if the kids I work with, I love them, and I think they love me equally. We have a blast whenever we're in a space where we could just have fun. And so what we've been able to do with that is that we log in at 5 o'clock. I have my boombox behind me with the lights and we're jamming. Sometimes I have like a special DJ come on and we screen share and he's DJing from his living room and the kids are just jamming from their space. And it's just a space for them. And I think that they need that. Shamar has joined me in a couple of my hip hop venues. Just y'all see my little hip hop thing. That's just my thing. And I bring on a whole bunch of kids on Thursday evenings and we just hang out and we rap and I give them beats and I give them topics and we just freestyle. And we've had the mayor of Peekskill join us. We've had doctors jump in and join us and the kids just have fun. It's just their platform. Nobody's limiting them to what they could or could not do. I mean, their expectations are set at the beginning of the session and they're pretty cool with following it because they get to have a space that belongs to them. And I think that they need to have a little bit more of that.
Yeah, and if I can just add, sorry, Shamar, I just wanted to add number one to Yogi's point as well, and the mass Zoom calls that like I've seen some of the schools do like a dance party where they have like a video that they'll share with the music, and then people can dance along, or they can just watch everybody else dance depending on how they feel or if they want to feel music or not. But that might be cool for, you know, schools to take on because I've seen a couple of different ones do that. Not just a recorded video, but, you know, to actually do it on a Zoom call.
Yeah. I do mine's on a Zoom call and, you know, whoever's on here knows me, you know, I could definitely be a fool with the kids, so.
Yeah, it's just about, well, so this kind of goes along with this. This was what I was thinking of adding before in terms of kind of some of the challenges that I've been talking to some of my high school students about through our peer groups is that even just on Zoom calls, they're doing 15 other things and they're so distracted. So I can, and this is supposed to be fun for them, right? We're just talking, but some of them are still doing homework. So I'll get like a random homework question in there, which I like. I'm like, hey guys, if you guys want to use this as a homework group, we could do that too if you have questions or whatever. But I'm encouraging them to get together for people they know that are in class. They could do a Zoom call together and do their work together if they want, or just whatever. But that if they're doing that in our peer group, like how that's working when they're really trying to get their work done, you know, because in the classroom, they're technically supposed to be putting their devices away, right? And now they're on it 24/7. So they're chatting here and they're trying to get their work done there. And they might be on a Zoom call with the class, or maybe they're not. And they're just on social media at the same time as trying to get their work done on the same tablet. So they've basically been saying like, I'm doing 15 things all the time. And they don't feel like there's any problem with that, but you know, where that plays
I think that behavior is kind of modeled though. I mean, as an adult, like we are constantly modeling that behavior to our kids. Right. So it just becomes something that it almost becomes like second, you know, mechanical. Like we could do this and do that. And, you know I'll be here. My daughter's in the room. So she'll walk by and see me on a Zoom call. So instead of standing at the door, because she don't want me to be the mom looking like, you know, she'll text me. So now I'm sitting here talking to you guys, texting her back like, yeah, you can do that, you know? So I think it's the balance of also, you know, as parents, us tuning that back and kind of letting them, you know like, maybe you could balance a thing or two at the same time. And, you know, I mean, my daughter's 23 and I'm talking like she's 15, but she's, you know, she's 23, so she's able to, you know, kind of manage, you know, all her things. But even when I walk by her room, like she's on, you know, she's finishing, you know, her school year. So she's online with her class. She's on the phone, you know, doing some other stuff. And then she got her puzzle. I'm like, how are you concentrating on all of this? But I'm going to be honest, it works for her. So, and she's 23, so I don't say no.
I think you're making the same point that we're talking about here, is that it's really so that this is about problem solving with your kid. And sometimes I've had that worry too, that, hey, how can you concentrate? You're lying down on the couch with your laptop on your lap, doing your homework and listening to music and scrolling through YouTube to find music. How are you doing this? And on the other hand, I know that she says something, oh, well, it works for me. So I think it's having that conversation, saying, I have a concern that you're paying attention. If you can show me you're paying attention and getting the results you need, fine. Otherwise, we're going to have to make some adjustments. This may
Actually,
work now, but not every day.
to speak to that point, actually, just yesterday, my stepson, he, every day he comes down to the living room, does his homework. Yesterday, he went to stay in his room. It threw me off, and I was like, oh, you know what? It worked for him. And that's what it's about. It's about being flexible and going back to a point that Valene and Yogi made about the children having that platform. It's like a structured platform, but they have that flexibility to just to be themselves. And that's so important. Where you set the parameters, like, all right, here's a platform, but now you can do you. Be part of you, and that's what's important. And that checking in is so important. It could be a family member and a friend. But also be mindful of the people you check in with as well. Some people you check in with, it's like watching CNN or watching the news. So you want to try to surround yourself with positive conversations, people that are going to kind of uplift you. And if they're not, maybe you could change that conversation and make it into something positive. Because the conversation is going to begin to change now with our kids, because now they know school buildings are out for the school year. So they know they're not going back to school. So now it's like the conversation is, if I'm not going back to school, why do I really need to do this? Who's going to check it? Who's going to, and they have that mindset. So now it's a different conversation and imparting on our youth that, yes, the school building is closed, but school is still in session. So that's going to be a separate conversation that's going to be coming up over the next few days if it hasn't at this point. I'm not sure if anyone's had to run into that conversation at this point now, either within your own household or with clients that you're working with. Can anyone speak to that, please?
I'll just chime in. Yesterday, I had a peer group, and this one kid was like, I heard we can't get less than a 65, so I don't have to do my work. And I was like, wait, I didn't hear that. Like, let's verify. And we're only talking about fourth quarter here. So there were 3 other quarters. Did you fail those? Because you're definitely not going to pass if you get a 65 this quarter. And he's like, oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, it's just this quarter you can't fail. And I don't know if that's true, because in one of the emails I read, it said they can't get below a 60. That was in one of my schools, but I'm sure all schools are handling it differently, and I'm not sure, and then I said, and even if that's the case, how are we gonna, is that really how you're gonna motivate yourself to get work done or not? And he's like, but earth science is just so hard. And he's a kid who, this is not working for him at home right now. He gets super distracted, and, it's a different conversation, but it's definitely come up, and kids really want to know, can I do the bare minimum and or nothing?
Mm-hmm. And that falls on the school as well too sometimes, because some schools, it depends on which school you'll be having a conversation about. Some schools offer a great deal of support. Some schools, unfortunately, it's like, here's the work, you need to submit it. And I've heard both sides of the coin, where that, like at Cross Hill, the principal, the AP, and the athletic coach, they're actually doing town halls, meaning study halls for the students. So if they're not getting support within the class from the teachers, they're offering free tutoring for the students throughout the week. But that looks different in every school. So, that's a huge barrier as well.
I think it also brings up points around what our kids' goals are, and help them remember this is not just these 3 or 4 months. God willing, it's going to end by then. But it's about your future goals. So I know Yocasta said some of the older teens are really worried about summer jobs. People are worried about getting into college. People are worried about, of course, other disappointments they're having, like graduation and proms. But I think it's really helpful to have that conversation with kids about, well, what's your goal? Yeah, you could slide by. In our district, it's pass fail. You can fail, but you don't have to do a lot to pass. So if you want to, go to college, is a pass enough? When you get back in school, are you going to have the base that you need to take the next course?
You're right.
I was going to say, for the lower grade levels in Yonkers, it is a pass fail. But personally, I'm not telling the kids, Really, it's a pass fail. I just said the expectation is for you to do all your work still.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to still maintain the standard. But when the parents, when I'm speaking directly to the parents and they're saying, you know what, this is really too much. I have 4 kids, 1 computer. It's hard to get them all on and stuff.
Mhm.
That's a real concern. So I'll say to the parent, just, as long as, and some of the principals will say the same thing, as long as they're making an attempt and we can see that they're doing some of their work, they will very likely pass. So
But how does that impact them, in the coming school year, right? Because they don't get the they get the minimal done, so the incoming year comes and that's going to be so overwhelming for some kids. That was just a thought. I wasn't looking for,
right.
I don't answer that.
That's exactly what I say to the parents and to the kids, if you still have to do it. The standard is still there. The expectation is for you to do all the work. But the parents in particular that are getting frustrated that, I have 5 teachers or 6 teachers calling me to say the kids are not doing all their work. I said, don't get so overwhelmed. Continue to encourage them to do it, but just don't let it overwhelm you. Because I got a memo from the director of my department regarding CPS, because apparently some of the teachers were saying, for the students who have not engaged, not participated in anything, haven't done one work from off the computer yet, should they be considered absent, or, that they're not participating? And is that possibly a CPS case? And, the directive that we got was pretty much kind of no. We're not here to stress the parents out. As long as there's like a wellness check to make sure that it's okay, find out what their needs are, find out why they aren't engaging. It could be a situation where, they don't have an any kind of electronics. The district has been good with providing it, but there's still families that don't have it. And you may even have kids that have special needs that don't want to get on the computer, and stuff like that. So it's to tease out the individual thing, but to also encourage the parents that, encourage them and letting them know that it's a rough time and, we just expect you to do your best, and that's it.
It kind of brings me back to what some folks were sharing earlier about when kids have so many changes in expectations. How do we help bring people back together? I mean, they're missing prom, they're missing graduation, they don't know if they're getting summer jobs, they don't know if passing really doesn't matter, does school even matter, and no one knows where this will end. So finding ways to celebrate together, finding ways, whether it's with a family, internally, or whether it's like the big, dance party across the school, I think they're really great ways to keep perspective toward the future, getting some needs met now, but also that this is not going to be forever. We got to step back into society in a couple months.
This summer is going to be a huge test as well, because although we're preparing for the end of the school year, it's still July and August. And how do you tell your adolescents, listen, we're still socially distancing, but it's 80 degrees outside. We may not have an air conditioner, we may have a fan, but you can't really go outside. You can't go to people's homes. You can't, that's a conversation about how do we practice those healthy measures with our teenagers, and have that conversation with them, let them know that, listen, this is definitely a temporary inconvenience, but we have to think long term. And sometimes, even as adults, we don't see 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right? We live in the moment. And a lot of times we make decisions based on being present in that moment. So it's like I said, those conversations need to start now. Some things that, how can we strategize? What can we create? What can we do to make sure that there is a balance where that we don't feel like we're stuck in the house, but we also know that we can't just be out in the streets in the open, because we have to be also safe. So that's a balance. What do we do this summer? What type of activities are there that we can do safely? If you live in an apartment building in the city, just 2 years ago, when I lived in the Bronx, I lived in an apartment building, just my son and I, and it was a 10-story building. And I'm just imagine not having the ability to go outside. Imagine being stuck in that situation. It would be very challenging. And going back thinking, okay, what could I have done at that time? And I said, to my son, I was saying, we could have went for a drive, we could have went for a walk, but it's kind of difficult because so many people trying to escape, so many people trying to get out. And this is the time I would say that we start planning and strategizing for what does the summer look like. So therefore we can get to the fall, prepare for the fall. So I think that's an important conversation that can take place in the future as well with families. How do we prepare for the summer coming up?
Okay, I'm sorry, Beth, I'm gonna have to jump off. I have one more meeting right now.
Well, thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you.
Valine. It was
Thank
great
you,
to see
Valine.
you.
Yes,
Nice to see you, Valine.
thank you so much for coming.
Bye, everybody, enjoy.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, when this all first started, one of the things that I personally discussed with a parent, as far as the concept of learning and school and so right, I think we get away from the fact that learning doesn't only take place in school. There are other things that we can engage our kids in doing. Like I said, I'm the guardian of my best friend's 13-year-old son. And, it's just really about like, okay, so I have to engage this child differently because, it was an empty nester a minute ago. So, right, like really getting back to those concepts of, just baking, like popping popcorn like that. There's a science in that. I mean, granted, I'm the director of an after school program that focuses on STEAM. So I bring a lot of that to the table. Silly stuff like, salt and pepper and, you rub the balloon on your head and it separates the pepper, right, from the salt, and then it's like magic. Kids, their minds be blown.
Yep.
So just doing, little things and understanding that it doesn't mean, that as a parent you have to get on here and know the math problems and know whatever they're reading and how to answer these social studies questions in a format that the teacher's requesting, but being able to step away from in front of the computer and saying, let me teach you how to cook. Let me teach you how to, I don't know, change a tire. I listen, I'm a tomboy, so my dad showed me how to, put air in a tire, repair a tire, build stuff. So like, in addition, learning is not just about school. Like, like show your kids how to balance a bank account, show them how you work, show them how to pay a bill, show them, so I think it's more than just to, finishing the math sheet that your math teacher sent you. I think that there's other pieces that we could incorporate into this time and really start to navigate the relationships that we have with our kids, because I think that this is an opportunity to get to know the people you live with. I think that for a lot of us, we're out of touch with the people we live with. So this is almost a reality and, like a reintroduction. In the words of JC, like allow me to reintroduce myself.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying, Yogi. Yeah, I love what you're saying, Yogi. And I'm thinking about too the ways that being home together, stuck home together, really changes all the roles. It changes the boundaries and the roles. So one of the things I think we get to re-navigate, even though it may feel choppy in the beginning, is how do you even work together? So we're home a lot more. There's 3 meals a day. There's dishes all the time. There's and so one of the things that we're trying to do is just get more involved with each other. This is not like a mama does everything for you. This is like, how do we work together as a family team, and how do we get things done? And like you're saying, like, let's learn how to do a new piece of taking care of a house, taking a project. Let's take on that project we didn't do all year because no one had time. Let's get that done. And what can we what skills do we learn from that about self-sufficiency and planning, and how to make it creative and fun too. Oh yeah, that ratty old bench out front, let's fix it, get the drill out, screw it together, paint it, and let's make it fun.
And even try to recollect things that your kids might have wanted to do. I hate to keep referring to my daughter because she's 23, but she's stuck in the house with me, right? So, she had an idea of putting like lights around her stand-up wall mirror. So I'm like, okay, so instead of it like, being a chore, like, yeah, you remember you wanted to put them lights around the mirror? She's like, yeah, man, let's order them on Amazon. They're like super cheap. And now we have a project that we're engaging in. Nice. So we're like out of the concept of just everybody being locked in their space and not doing anything. And now, it just takes, another person in the house to walk around and be like, oh, can I help? And, now we're engaged in something, so it's just, being creative and kind of thinking back to even what kids had mentioned that they were interested in learning or doing and really, tapping back into that their creativities.
Yeah.
And you both are correct, actually, speaking about thinking outside the classroom, thinking outside the text, being flexible, thinking outside the box. Even as, although I know some people won't dare, but it was a day of homework. They have homework the faster. So you know what? Today we're going to take a break from it. Even if you have to email the teacher and let them know, listen, today we're doing a family day, we're doing a mental health day, where that you get a break, your children get a break, and you do something just with each other. It doesn't have to be for 8-9 hours. It could be as simple as watching a movie. It could be something you pick a movie or just doing something with them just to reconnect to your family. Because in some households you can't connect, and in some households, as we know as professionals, there's a disconnect, right? And now you're putting this pandemic on top of this disconnect that was already in existence, on top of homework, on top of schoolwork, on top of demands, which can now, you're mixing like gasoline and what is it, fire, whatever, gasoline, water, whatever, that can spark, and that can be dangerous. So like I said, sometimes removing all those expectations and just being free, and there's nothing wrong with that as parents, you know. They said, we're not going to do this today. So to go with both of your points, that's so important, thinking outside the box and also removing yourself from looking at the box as well, I think is just as important.
Catherine, what are you hearing out there in Cortland?
I can't unmute myself. Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I've been able to speak with some parents. A lot of what I'm hearing right now is that they're just really focused on the schoolwork and how hectic it is, and how a lot of our parents are teachers and how they're trying to teach, and they're trying to teach their children. You know, and I have friends who are parents. I guess at this point in time, I'm fortunate that I'm not a parent and I don't have to worry personally about a child in my household, but I do have a lot of respect and compassion for those who are. And right off the bat, my coworker and I created 110 different things that you can do at home for families with kids. And, you know, that was really important for us as soon as this thing started to do, even though we knew the first initial push was going to be for schoolwork and trying to get their household, because we were like, at some point they're going to need this. So it's going to be really important for us to get that out there sooner rather than later, so that it's something for them to fall back on. And, you know, as a recreation professional, we're worried about summer. We recognize what our services do for youth and what it provides for them in all aspects of their growth. And just their mental well-being. So, you know, we're trying to get creative. We're doing research. We're trying to see what other communities are doing, what we can be providing for them. Virtual classes, the hangouts, virtual DJ night, whatever it can be. So we're still really working hard and trying to focus on all those things. And I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. And I'm hoping that parents watch these videos and see we really are all in this together, no matter what our home life is like right now, you know, together, leaning on one another, sharing ideas, talking things out. We're going to get through it, and our kids are going to come out stronger and better for it in the long run if we all just kind of stick together.
Yogi, I want to thank you very much, Catherine. I appreciate that. I think we best can learn from each other because we're all figuring out this new path. It's all brand new. Yogi, I was wondering if you could speak for a minute about some of the disappointments the older teens are having, and how you're talking with them, and what are they finding that kind of helps sustain them through all those losses of like graduation and worries about not having a job and, you know, losing out on the prom, all those milestones.
Well, I think for the most part, they're disappointed, but I think that most kids are taking it rather a lot better than we adults expect to take them to take it. I think it's important for us as adults not to bring that awe factor to them, right? That, oh, we're so sad and we feel so bad for you, and that you're not, because I think that jumpstarts and initiates that feel bad, you know, and feeling. You know, the kids are, you know, these kids are amazing, and then they, you know, innovative. They're like planning stuff to, you know, be online. For some kids, it's like, it's silly. I'm not going to get in front of a screen and dance. And for other kids, they're like, well, we're going to get on the screen and turn up. So I think it's kind of really respecting that. And if your kids don't want to join, don't push them. I think we as adults need to take a step back on how we view their situation. I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw like people were posting pictures of their prom dates in support of the kids that are going to miss their proms. and that was like oxymoron to me. No disrespect to anybody who did it. But like that's me like displaying my food of filet mignon to somebody who's hungry. Like I don't think that made sense, right? So for a lot of the kids that got caught up with that, it was like that doesn't make us feel better. We see you in your prom dress and you getting, like, so it was just like, and like I understand that it was done with good intent from adults. Just felt like let's support the teens, and it's like
no.
Right? So I think it's just important for us to keep I guess for us to get their vibes instead of giving them ours all the time. And I think we get stuck in wanting to feel sorry, and then we project that feeling towards them instead of kind of helping them problem solve and figure a way of how to cope with the situation, opposed to sit and dwell on the situation.
Just like you were talking about earlier, like the way we project our own anxiety when we look at the news too much and we get worried about the future.
Yes.
You can have, I love what you're saying about respecting the kids, respecting our youth, and their experience is their experience. This is brand new for everybody. So it's going to be different, and that's okay. Let's help them find their own meaning in it.
Yeah, I think if I can add so a couple of the pieces that I was really surprised at in talking to my peers over the last week or two, because since last week, it's changed that we're not going back, right? And they're like, oh, well, but like, they're not seniors, so it's easy for them to say, but, well, if you don't walk this year, you can walk next year. They're going to walk with us because they're juniors, right? So they'll be saying, I'm like, yeah, like some kids might like that, but most kids aren't going to come back from college and walk the high school stage, but it's something that right now, I think for some kids that is helpful. They're like, oh, all right, like adults are trying to still make it an option for us. But exactly like Yogi was saying, like to not jump to like, yeah, they're going to want to do that. And even, like JD, they have this junior dance at Sleepy Hollow, and a lot of the kids were like so excited about it. And 2 kids were like, I'm not doing that. Like, I can't even go get my hair done. Like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
So it's going to be, there's some things that absolutely adults need to not jump to the conclusion. But I think the kids are excited about getting creative about it. Like we're going to do a PSA for our May campaign this year. And we're going to join forces through different schools. So they're excited to meet kids from other schools via Zoom on Thursday. And so there's those pieces that they seem to be like getting a little more excited about, because I'm not telling them, oh, we decided to do it this way. It's like, how do you guys want to do it? Like, I still want to do it. So how can we figure it out?
That's a perfect.
And the same thing with JD. Like I said to them, I don't know, present a couple ideas. Like if you don't like the Zoom idea, or, it's too many people, and maybe you guys can do, I don't know. You figure it out, of what you think everyone would enjoy, or take a vote, or the same stuff you guys do when you vote on what the theme is for prom and all of that.
Yep. So I think
and I was impressed that they were so like resilient about it. Like, oh, well, but they said we could do this, and and they didn't seem so defeated as I thought they were going to be.
I think it's because they're given the choice, right?
Yes.
Like I know my daughter graduates from college this year, and they're like, well, you could walk in December, you can come back, and she's like, I'm not doing that. She's like, can you send me my diploma so I can go get a job, right? So for her, it's just in the concept of like, let's go already. I want to be finished with this. There's no need for me to come back, and there's for some of her friends that feel like I want to have the experience of walking the stage, so they want to come back and do that. So I think that them having it offered to them is a plus, but I don't think we have to push it on them. And I think that there's a difference,
Right.
It's about really respecting kids' perspective and helping them supporting them to figure out what's important to them, and that they can make it their own.
Absolutely.
So Caitlin, I know we're coming close to the end of our time. Can you just flash both the sort of a summary of like themes that we were talking about today, and also some resources that we wanted to make sure everybody has?
Yeah, and while I'm doing that, I don't know if you wanted to share about next week's upcoming
thank you.
so that everyone's aware to tune in.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for reminding me. So for all the parents and all of us professionals who are here today, please let your teenagers know that we would not do this without being fair to our youth. So next week is Stuck Home with Your Parent. The same things around communication, problem solving, and navigating boundaries. So next week is for the youth to come and talk about what's hard, what works, what do they need, how they need us to hear what would support them. So please get the word out. We really want to have kids here to talk about it and to listen, to give them a platform for us to listen. And so we just look on the WJCS website, www.wjcs.com, and the link will be on that front page.
Yes, and it's going to be same time, same place in terms of all of the same links on that webpage. Under the news section is where you can actually find the recorded videos as well as the link for 11 o'clock on Wednesday mornings that we have been running this. I'm going to also put up the resource screen so that everyone can see what I've shared at the during the other ones. These are just great local resources as well as statewide, but mostly countywide, for anyone who feels like this might be helpful for someone you know, or just a good thing to have. Oops, sorry. You can screenshot, or again, as we know, this is recorded and you can always refer back. But this is at the end of all of the previous workshops as well. And then I guess we'll just leave it if there's any other questions. Or
can you also just show our last little the summary page we had talked about?
Yes, I can't show them at the same time, but I can. I was
just in case people want to take a look at that too, or do a screenshot.
Yep. Hopefully you can see the whole thing when I open it up. Is that showing for everyone?
And just scroll down to the important part.
And this should have all of our topics that we just discussed.
So if anybody needs a copy of that, like you said, we can screenshot it or refer back to it and get it.
Yep.
Recording.
Yeah, definitely let your teens know that they can tune in for next week and be part of the conversation as well.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining today. Be well. Have a great afternoon.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.